Teacher?
Yes?
Conditional.
Conditional sentences, right? Okay. How many kind of conditional sentences do you know? How many?
If
Okay,
in the
yes.
sentence,
We use if
has if.
in the sentence. Very good. These are conditional sentences, right? We normally use if in the sentences, but we have different kinds, different type of conditional sentences. Do you remember how many conditional sentences do we have in English? How many? Any of them that you remember? ¿Algún tipo de condicional que recuerden? Conditional sentences? No, ninguno.
I think that there are four, like possibility.
Yes, four type of conditional sentences.
When you are sure, when it's a possibility, and I don't remember the last.
Okay, we have four different kind of conditional sentences. I'm going to show you a picture. Let me look for the picture. I'm going to show you the conditional sentences so you can remember, because this is something you have learned before in other levels. Okay? Let me show you. These are the conditional sentences. We have zero conditional sentences, first conditional, second conditional, and third conditional sentences. So we have four. You need to know how to use these four kind of conditional sentences. Okay, if you don't know how to use them, you need to practice to remember, because this is something you have learned in the past. Okay, so we use zero conditional sentences when we are talking about something that is true, something that is real in the present. Okay, we use the first conditional sentence when we are talking about possible situations in the future. Okay, we use the second conditional sentence when we talk about hypothetical situations and real situations in the present and in the future. And we use the third conditional sentence when we talk about unreal situations, hypothetical situations in the past. Okay? So today we are going to talk about two of them. Today we are going to talk about the second conditional and the third conditional. So pay attention and take notes, okay? So we have this conditional sentence for imaginary situations in the present or future. Which of them is it? Is zero, first, second, or third conditional? To talk about imaginary situations in the present or future.
The second conditional.
The second conditional, right? We use the second conditional to talk about imaginary situations and real situations, hypothetical situations in the present or future, okay? So here I have an example. Do you know him? Do you
Yes.
know him?
Yes.
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 Yes,
Unfortunately, he is
Yes.
not like this anymore. He did something in his face and, well,
Botox
Bad.
teacher.
yes. Okay, so we are going to take this model for our example, okay? This actor. So it says, I asked my friend this question: what would you do if you met Zac Efron? And she answered, she told me, if I met him, what do you think she would do? ¿Qué piensan que ella haría si lo conociera? If I met him, what could be the answer here? Any ideas? No?
I would ask him for a autógrafo. No sé cómo se dice en inglés.
Yes, I would ask him for an autograph. Yes, if I met him, I would ask him for an autograph. Very good. If I met him, what can I say here?
She hug.
If I met him,
If she may
I
meet,
would ask him for
him.
a hug.
I would hug him.
Ask him for a hug.
I would hug him. Lo abrazaría. Okay. And if I met him, what do you think?
I would kiss him.
I would kiss him.
I would take a photo.
Take a selfie.
Yes, I would take a picture or a selfie with him. Okay, so this is something that is unreal, is hypothetical, can be something in the present or in the future. Okay, as you can see, she doesn't have the opportunity to meet him. This is all her imagination. Okay, so as you can see, we need to follow a certain structure when we are saying this kind of conditional sentences. For example, what do we have here? If I met him,
Past.
past simple, right? So
Simple past.
the simple past. And here, what do we have here?
Future.
Would plus
Future.
It's not future, it's would plus a verb in the base form, right? Very good. So this is the form, this is the structure that we use when we talk about unreal situations in the present or in the future. I'm going to show you here the structure. This is the second conditional sentence for imaginary situations in the present or in the future. So remember, in all the conditional sentences, we have two parts. The first part, or one of the parts, is the situation. Okay, in this conditional sentence, in the second, we use if plus the past simple or the simple past in the situation. And we also have a result in the conditional sentences. We always have a situation and a result. So, in the result, we can use would, could, might, and the verb in the base form. Okay, so this is the structure you need to follow when you are talking in the second conditional sentence for imaginary situations and real situations in the present or in the future. Okay? For example, if punishment were or was more common, we wouldn't have too much crime in the cities. Okay, so this is something that you are going to see, but generally we use were for the conditional sentences. We don't use was, okay? But in informal speaking, maybe you will hear was, but where is most used, okay? It's the most used. So as you can see, I am following the structure. If, here I have my subject, and then I have the verb in the simple past or in the past simple. And in the second part, I have the result. I used would in the negative form and the base form of the verb have. Okay, remember that if we have the sentence, the if sentence, the if clause at the beginning, we need to use a comma. Okay, but if we have the if clause at the end, we don't use a comma. We can say, we wouldn't have too much crime in the cities if punishment were more common. Si ponemos la parte de if, al final no necesitamos una coma. Pero si la ponemos al principio, sí necesitamos una coma. Okay? So here I have a question for you. What would be different in your city if people behave in a different way? So I want you to think about this question. I want you to think, how can you answer this question? You can say, if people, and you can use a verb in the simple past. And here you can write the city, would, and a verb in the base form. Okay, so think about your answer. How can you answer this? What can you say? If people, maybe you can say, if people recycled the garbage, the city would be cleaner. Any other example?
If people was different, the city would be cleaner.
Again, please. If people were
Different, the city would be cleaner.
yes. Any other ideas? Okay, remember we use the verb in the simple past, any verb in the simple past, and we can use would, could, or might, plus the verb in the past part, in the base form, okay? This is the second conditional for imaginary situations in the present or future. Let's talk about the third conditional. We use the third conditional to talk about imagined situations in the past and their imagined results. So unreal situations in the past and the results. Normally we use this kind of conditional to talk about regrets, okay? Let's see some examples. Here we have the fact. It wasn't a nice day and we didn't have a good time. So here we have the conditional sentence. If it had been a nice day, we would have had a good time. Okay, so this is the conditional sentence. Here we have another one. It was a nice day. We had a good time. And the conditional sentence is, if it hadn't been a nice day, we couldn't have had a good time. Okay? So, as you can see, we have the two parts of the if clauses. What tense do we use in the first part, in the situation? ¿Qué tiempo gramatical ocupamos en la primera parte del
Past participle.
past participle?
Past perfect.
Past perfect.
Past perfect. Had and a verb in the past participle. Hadn't and a verb in the past participle, right? Very good. So, what about the result? What about the result? What tense do we use here? What tense do we use in the result? What is this?
Past participle.
Past perfect.
Will have, might have.
Okay, yes.
Good.
This is called the perfect conditional. Okay, the perfect conditional is would have, would or could have, and the past participle. Okay, so remember the perfect conditional. So this is when we are talking about the past, something unreal in the past. Por ejemplo, esto es lo que pasó, ¿cierto? No fue un buen día, entonces no la pasamos bien. Pero yo puedo decir algo que es irreal, algo que es imaginario. Si hubiésemos tenido un buen día o si hubiese sido un buen día, lo hubiésemos pasado bien. ¿Ok? Lo mismo acá. Fue un buen día y la pasamos bien. Tuvimos un buen tiempo, ¿cierto? Entonces aquí puedo decir, si no hubiese sido un buen día, estamos hablando del clima, ¿cierto? No hubiésemos podido pasar un buen tiempo o pasarla bien. ¿Ok? Entonces hablo de algo que es irreal en el pasado. ¿Ok? And here we have some examples. It says, look at the sentences in exercise number 1 and answer the questions. Which sentences talk about the present or the future, and which of the sentences talk about the past? What do you think? A, B, and C. Which of them talk about the future or present, and which of them talk about the past?
A and B.
A and B
Talk
about
present and future.
the present and future, right? A and B about the present and future, and B and C about the past, right? Very good. Which of them are situations? Are the situations real or imagined?
Imagine.
All of them are imagined, right? And the last one, it says, look at the verbs in italic and describe, which describe a definite consequence and a possible consequence. Which one is a possible consequence? Aquí subrayamos
The paragraph B.
B, right? Because we have might not in this one, right? So it's a possible consequence. And the other ones are definite, right? Definite consequence, definite consequences. Okay, very good. So here we have the grammar panel. This is going to be your homework.